If you will pay attention to that current that is flowing, you will begin to then understand the current of that which is source and the current of that which is the dominant vibration which is within you. In other words, when you go with that flow, it's like going downstream. And when you will go against that flow, it's like going upstream. And it is the hard work that you describe in your physicalness of paddling upstream that is that which we are calling energy resistance. In other words, it's not letting you from your physical format be that which you really are. For example, when you're going with the flow, you love yourself. When you're going against the current, you're mad at yourself. You're seeing yourself as inappropriate or someone else. When you go with the flow, you're clear-minded. When you're not, you're confused. When you go with the flow, health is what your physical body is about. When you're pushing against that flow, in time, your body shows the evidence of that resistance. And we want you to understand that in every moment, especially as you begin paying attention to it, you can feel if you're going with that current or flow. Now, we want you to understand this flow in the fullest sense of the word, because it was flowing before you were born into this body, this pure positive energy stream of abundance and well-being and clarity and love and appreciation of life. And it was from that attitude that you came forth into this physical body. So you come into this physical body, and as you are now moving about, there is variety or contrast that surrounds you. And in all of that variety of contrast, just like you knew it would be, you are stimulated to your own preferences of what you prefer. When someone's rude to you, you prefer that they be nicer. When you're rude, you prefer that you be nicer. When you're sick, you want to be well. When you don't have enough money, you want more money. In other words, the variety or contrast is constantly causing a sharpening of focus within you. And this is the part that so many of you are not remembering, that we so much want you to remember. That source energy that was you and is you before expressing itself into your physical body is still dominantly vibrating within you. So when your life causes you to ask for something beyond what you have right now, source energy goes into immediate vibrational agreement with that. That's why we can write a book and be accurate about it when we say, when you ask, it is given. And we would like to take that even further. Not only when you ask, is it given, but when you ask, the larger part of you vibrationally becomes that which you are asking for. Can you hear that? You can't ask a question without source immediately going directly to the answer and offering the vibration of it fully. You cannot bang around with not enough money and ask for more without source energy going to more. And the thing that we want you to hear is that non-physical part of you, that stream of you that is the flow of you, not only is aware of the contrast that gives birth to the desire, but then fully becomes the vibrational, if you will, embodiment, if you will, of your desire. So the larger part of you has instantaneously achieved the answer to your question, the solution to your problem, or the answer to your desire in the moment that you give birth to it. So what's happening is source is holding lovingly and eternally in vibrational escrow that which you are causing source to become. Did you hear the careful choice of words? You, in your physical format, are causing source to become, just like source knew would happen, more. And source is so sure that no one could know more clearly than you what is best for you. No one could more accurately define the leading edge of your experience than you. And so source, even if you are a one-celled organism, source is allowing you to have exposure to the experience and is becoming the vibrational extension of that which your life has caused you to become. Oh, friends, that's flow. Now, the question is, where are you standing right now in relationship to the flow that you are upon, to the flow that your life caused you to give birth to? And what we want you to realize is the way you feel is your indication of whether you have gone with that flow or whether you're holding yourself in some resistance to it. It's natural in the beginning of life causing you to ask for more, which source immediately becomes, it's natural for you to be a vibrational holdout in part because, after all, it's new to you. Life just caused you to ask for it, and source, in all of its wisdom and in all of its absence of resistance, became immediately one with that. The question is, where are you in vibrational relationship with that? So there is this constant call of source who is saying, in essence, this way, this way, this way, this way. And what does that call sound like? Well, if you are already in an attitude of appreciation, the call of source sounds like love. In other words, when you're close to the vibration of that which is calling you, it just feels like love. Well, what does the call of source sound like when you are in despair? Not exactly like harps and angels, we got to tell you, because you're listening to the call of source through whatever ears you've got going. And if you're in despair, even though source is calling you, it doesn't sound necessarily like pure positive emotion. It would sound more like rage or revenge or anger, because that's in the direction of where source is, but it's closer to where you are, and it's the way you're translating the sound of the call of source. So what happens to so many of you is that you've had this guidance system within you, this non-physical part of you that is over here living and being that which you were before you came into this body and that which you've expanded to since you've been in this body. And when you don't let yourself get up to speed with that which your life has caused you to become, you don't feel so good. You feel unfulfilled. You feel dissatisfied. At a minimum, and at a maximum, you freak out. You feel like the world is coming to an end. In other words, you must let yourself move in the direction of that which you have become. Now, we used those words very carefully. You must let yourself move in the direction of that which life has caused you to become. Because we want you to understand that this current is always flowing. And there will always be this gap between what life has caused you to ask for and where you are in proximity to it. In other words, as quickly as you get vibrationally up to speed with something that you've asked for, life will give you more contrast. And by that we mean variety, more choices, which will cause you to expand still further. We are all eternal beings, so our expansion will never end. So we want, in this gathering today, many of you have been listening to us for a while, and you've heard us crowing about positive emotion. You've heard us encouraging you to be the deliberate creator of your own experience. We've talked about the art of allowing until you can hardly stand to hear the words anymore. We've talked about there is allowing of the flow and there's resisting of the flow. There's opening your valve, there's closing your valve. There's wanting and believing, and there's wanting and doubting. In other words, we've been talking to you for a very long time about the contradictory energy that you might have going on. But today, what we want you to hear above all other things is that in the moment that you turn in the direction of the flow, you're going to feel better now. In other words, you don't have to get all the way over there to the complete manifestation of what you want. And of course, if you turn in the direction of the flow, you can't help but do that. The current's going to take you right there. But in the moment that you stop bucking the current of who you really are and allow yourself to go with the flow, to go in the direction of that which you are asking for, you will feel relief. And that's what we want you to begin reaching for. As Jerry and Esther are traveling from Phoenix to San Diego, they know all they have to do is point in the right direction and keep going, and they're going to get there. So they never feel tormented about the journey. They don't get 10 miles out and start arguing about whose fault it is that they're not there yet. In other words, they understand that they just have to keep a reasonable speed in the direction of San Diego, and they will get there. And so, since that journey is so very understandable, they enjoy the journey, even though the majority of the time they're out in the desert and they're not in San Diego where they really want to be. We want you to hear that. We want you to realize that in the moment that you turn in the direction of that which you have become, you're going to begin to enjoy the journey. You will not feel so much angst about not being there yet if you are going with the flow. It's going in opposite direction of that which you are wanting that makes you crazy. We've heard so many of you who are living something for whatever reason and you are feeling powerless. And in this stream, or on this emotional guidance scale that we like to talk about, on the end of it that feels like love and joy, your perception of freedom is very active within you. Your perception of well-being and freedom is the dominant vibration that is there. And when you are on the other end of the scale, in that feeling of powerlessness, in that feeling of depression, in that feeling of fear, powerlessness is the dominant feeling that is within you. Of course, it's not valid because you are so free you can choose bondage, but your perception of it is everything because your perception is your vibration. In the guidance systems like Magellan and Garmin and Pioneer and OnStar, there are so many different, Jerry and Esther have all of them now in different vehicles, but they all operate on the same premise, which is, where am I in relationship to where life has now told me that I want to be? And when you realize that those two relationships, those two places have a relationship with each other, a vibrational relationship with each other. That's how the guidance system operates. Yours works exactly the same way. The larger part of you has already become what you are asking for. And what you're doing right here and now with your thoughts is the other vibration. And those two vibrations play off of each other, and that's what equals your emotion. When you turn in the direction of that which you want, you feel the relief because you stop the resistance. Hear that? When you begin to turn in that direction, the true resistance really stops. So do I have to be all the way up here in sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, cotton candy before I am feeling better? No. You can turn from despair or fear into revenge and immediately feel the relief of beginning to move with the flow. Now, there are many audiences that cringe when we encourage revenge. And we want to say, if you understand this, you'll float right through revenge really fast, hopefully before you act on it. If you will relax and let the current carry you, it is our promise to you, it will carry you right on to less anger, into those feelings that feel more like frustration, into those feelings that feel more like hope and belief and knowing, into those vibrations that are really who you are. But you've got to let go of the thoughts that have got you turned around going the other way. So what we've noticed with so many of you is that you haven't been able to quantify your journey. You haven't been able to tell whether you're moving toward or away from something that you want. Because wherever you are, if it doesn't feel good, and if others now are attacking you about the way that you feel, it's so easy to lose your place. This one is saying you shouldn't be angry. This one is saying you shouldn't feel that way. And what we're wanting you to begin to do is to say to all of them, I know you mean well, but you're driving me crazy. Go away and leave me alone. I'm going to see if I can't figure out this flow thing. I'm going to begin to listen to the call of Source. I'm beginning to understand that I'm an extension of Source energy, and that in this physical lifetime, I have caused Source to become more still. And that non-physical part of me is calling me, and I'm going to begin listening for that call. And so all day here today, we're going to be talking about going with that flow, listening for that non-physical call. And we want you to realize that as life is caught, let's say that you go to your mailbox and you've got more bills in it than you anticipated coming, and you've spent your money, and you have that sick feeling in your stomach that feels like fear, maybe even despair. What we want you to realize is that in the midst of that, desire is shooting out of you. In other words, in that deciphering of life, in that molding of the clay of physical life, your problem is asking for a solution. And Source went right to the solution, and not just this time either. Every time. Do you know the huge amount of resources that have amassed in vibrational escrow that have your name on them? The more life you've lived, the more you've asked, and the more you've asked, the more Source energy has become. And here's the part we want you to get. The louder is the call. And do you know, you got to answer the call, or you just can't stand it. Haven't you noticed that? You must. It is a law that is so eternal. You must stay up to speed with that which you have become. And when you hold back, you feel terrible because the Source energy part of you didn't hold back. Your life causes you to expand, and the non-physical part of you goes with that flow. And when you begin to turn in the direction of the flow, you feel wonderful.